All right, we're going to move on to our sleepers first. So these are the players. Now we're calling them sleepers loosely. Really, it's more undervalued player. So we're going off some of the ranks. Particularly, we're going to focus on Yahoo, which is where we play over. But you can sort of apply this if you're playing on ESPN or another site, and just learn where we think these players are ranked. But more where the players are undervalued. We're not talking like late sleepers, which will be another video. But players who we think are going too late compared to where they should be going. So I might throw it to you first, Cal. Give us your first sleeper pick.
First sleeper. I'll say I will mention that we are going off the Yahoo fantasy. So based on that, I think the number 31 pick, Jamal Murray, is my first sleeper.
Oh, okay.
I think at 31, that's essentially a third round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from what I saw in the playoffs, and that's what I'm building off because he was an absolute baller. If he can maintain that, he could easily be first round value.
Really?
Second round.
You reckon he could go that big?
Potentially. Like in a third round pick, he's a pretty good week to week guy as well because he just explodes. So he can just like win your week so easily. And that's always the league. We play the head to head week combination. So I think when he goes off like that, he can just win you something hands down. He can put up similar things to like a Steph Curry, like he was in the playoffs. He's obviously not going to play as many minutes, but the one knock against him has always been consistency. And I feel like he did prove that a bit now. And he's going to get the minutes. He's going to be the number one scoring option. There's no reason why he can't average. I mean, he only put up like 18 points a game last season. I'll read out his stats. He was like number 31 forecasted. He only put up 18.5, 4 and 4. Only 1.9 threes as well, which is pretty surprising. So I see all of those stats jumping up a fair bit. And I see him definitely being second round value personally. So if you can get them in the third round, I think you've done pretty damn amazing.
Well, look, we've started off pretty hot here. I'm going to disagree with you there, I think, Cal. Look, I don't hate him going in the early rounds, but I don't know if it's enough for me to call him a sleeper. I feel like you briefly touched on it. He averaged went in the playoffs. He was playing. Let me just look at it up here. His minutes per game. He was playing just an absurd amount of minutes in the playoffs. Hold on, let me just quickly find it here.
I'll say he was playing 32 minutes in the regular season, which is still pretty good.
Yeah, but he played
winning a lot of games.
He played nearly 40 minutes a game in the playoffs. Like he's not replicating that again. And that's a big thing that swings it. And his field goal percentage was absolutely crazy. I mean, maybe I definitely see him taking a step forward, but I just think in a 19-game sample size, look, it's still a decent sample size. But he was just going absolutely crazy.
How much was he averaging? Tell me. How much did he put up?
26
like
and a half points.
There we go.
26 and a half, like it's good, but I don't know. He's hitting 3.3s a game. I don't know. I feel like he's going to be very hyped. And for that reason, I don't know. He's ranked 31, but he could even go higher than that. So I don't know. I don't think it's enough for myself to call him a sleeper, but I do think he will improve on last year's numbers, obviously.
That's right. Look, that's why we have these debates. This is good. Everyone's obviously got their own opinion to some degree.
Look, he was the 57th ranked player last year. So obviously, I think he's going to do better than that. So and Yahoo does as well. They've got him at 31. So I like him around that mark in the 30s. I think he'll be a good player there. He obviously doesn't get as many assists as some of the other point guards because Jokic is on their team. So that might be a draw card, and not many steals either. Just around one a game. So I think those limit his ceiling on a fantasy point of view. His points, his threes, perhaps field goal percentage should all rise. But whether it's those other things, I think will be the difference.
It depends what you're going for as well. He's actually a really good fit for, say, a punt assist build for that reason. So,
yeah. He's a good because if you want to get someone in that point guard slot, lock that away, and then just focus on your big guys after that. That's a good player to just throw in there. Okay. Cool. Well, controversial one to start. I'm going to throw my first sleeper out there, and it's Andre Drummond. Now, Andre
Drummond.
List.
He is on my list.
Okay. So Andre Drummond on Yahoo is at rank 48. 48. Now, look, the man can't shoot free throws. We know that. But even with his free throw percentage being what it is, Last year, he was ranked 28. Even if you don't even punt the free throws, he was ranked 28. Do we think he's dropping 20 spots in value because he's in Cleveland? I don't think so. Like, who have Cleveland got on their team that's taken the stats? I know Kevin Love's there, but he's old. I don't really see his stats really changing too much compared to last year. Maybe they don't use him as much because they're trying to develop a bit of the youth. So maybe his points go down. Perhaps he gets fewer assists, but his rebounds will be there. He gets a lot of steals and blocks, even though he's a bad defender. I still think he'll keep doing that.
And he'll get his shots too, man. He shot 53% from the field off pretty much 14 field goals.
Yeah.
So he'll get his shots. That carries that. He only really hurts you in the three throws. The threes aren't great either.
Obviously, he doesn't shoot threes, yeah.
And the turnovers are a bit average as well. But I mean, the counting stats on those on the defensive side, like 1.9 steals from a center is huge. 1.6 blocks from a center is pretty damn good. That's super solid. 15 rebounds. He's led the league in rebounding like 4 years.
Yeah,
like,
100%. And I don't see that dropping huge anytime soon. Look, if I just go, I'm on Basketball Monster right now. This is where we get, a lot of people are asking where we get these rankings from. Basketball Monster is the site. I'm just turning punting free throw percentage on. And guess what number he came out? This is based on last year's numbers. He was the 5th ranked player in a punt free throw build last year. So just absolutely monstrous. And I don't really see too much changing in Cleveland. The only
contract year for him.
The only risk is that he gets traded to a better team and maybe he has less of a role. And potentially, I think maybe his days as a starting center may be coming to a close soon. So that is your only risk. But I don't really see that happening. Do you?
I don't see it happening. He earns a lot of money. So for him to be in a deal, the Cavs to be taking on a big contract as well, it's very hard to make the money work. So I think he's going to stay where he is, contract year, and move on after the season.
Yeah. My advice also is if you're in a league where you know which teams are punting free throws. So if you know that the guy, say you're on the turn, if the guy after you is punting free throws and Andre Drummond's still on the board, just make sure you select him before that guy. Or if you know the guy behind you is, looking after his free throws, then you know that you can take a value pick and then you'll get Drummond on the way back because he obviously fits a certain type of build. With that huge negative in his free throw percentage. So keep that in mind when you're drafting, particularly on the turn when you've only got one or maybe two people behind you. Okay, let's move on. Give me another sleeper, Cal.
All right, my next sleeper was Drummond, but we'll move on, obviously. We'll go on to my number 74, which is DeMar DeRozan.
Yes, okay, I agree with this one.
Yeah, this is DeMar DeRozan is, if you're punting threes, like one of the best people you can get in the mid rounds. And for him to fall, he's ranked at 74. That's huge. He's also someone that is very underestimated in terms of carrying a team in three throws. There's not many players you can get who could average high volume as well as a really good percentage. Yeah, that is 100%. DeMar DeRozan. So I think I've got his stats up. He shoots 6.6 free throws a game, 5.6 he makes. So he's shooting 85%. So it's a big carry. I've had on my team before, years past. And when you can carry three throws like that, it's a huge upside. And on top of that, he has the counting stats: 22, 5.5, 5.5. Yeah, that's pretty damn good. I mean, yes, his defense is kind of average. You don't get many things there, but look, maybe that's part of your punt as well. He's a very good player to focus your punt around. And as a guard, he's got an incredible field goal percentage because he doesn't shoot threes. He shot 53% from the field last season, and his turnovers are good too.
I was about to ask you if you knew that off by heart, but I'm just looking at the stats right now, and I was shocked. I was like, man, he shot 53% last year. That
15 attempts a game.
Yeah, so that's actually, of all his categories, we know his free throws is good, but based on last year, that's actually his biggest contributing stat is the field goal percentage. Shooting that many attempts at that high percentage, that's a huge boost from a wing position. And like you said, if you're punting threes, he actually comes out as the number 27th ranked player on last year's stats. So at 74, bang, there's nearly 50 spots worth of value. So definitely someone to keep an eye on if that suits your build. And even if it doesn't, like we talked about earlier, you can get threes later in the draft. Draft a Davis Bertans, someone who, is a big man but gets threes instead of you don't have to have your wing player shooting threes. A lot of people get sort of stuck on that sort of thing.
Yeah, like when you're elite in two different categories, and that being
Yeah.
free throws and field goal, it's pretty awesome to just like look at a team like, oh, I need free throws right now. I'll get DeMar DeRozan. Let's get him right now. It's good to have that, and it's definitely pretty valuable to have that in the middle round.
And if you're playing in a rotisserie league, he even gets a further jump because those percentages are just so rare to come by. Having elite in both those percentages is quite a rare thing to find in drafts, and not many players are good at that. I'll move on to my second sleeper, and it is from my homegrown Celtics. It's probably one of my favorite sleepers in the whole draft, and I'll probably ruin it for myself with the draft coming up this weekend. But it's Marcus Smart. And I feel like I've been beating the drum on this podcast about Marcus Smart, and I feel like he just gets underrated everywhere in real life, fantasy, from voters. But he's ranked at 94 on Yahoo, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I know he's not the most efficient scorer. I know his field goal percentage is pretty bad, but just based on last year alone, Marcus Smart was the 62nd ranked player. So are we expecting Marcus Smart to get worse? Are we like dropping 30 spots? Even if it was just the same, like pick him at pick 62 and there's your value. But no, Gordon Hayward has left the team. Marcus Smart is going to move into the starting lineup, and I think his usage will increase. His minutes will increase as well. So I just think it's a slam dunk pick. If you're picking him at pick 94, you could potentially get 40 or 50 spots worth of value there. What are your thoughts on Marcus?
Yeah, I like him as well. He's going to be really elite in steals and really good in threes, while being pretty reasonable in your turnovers. So and he fits a lot of builds. Like, he's good at punt, field goal. You can punt rebounds with him. You can do a few things. His three throws don't hurt you either. Doesn't shoot a high volume, but it doesn't really hurt you in a lot of ways apart from the field goal. I mean, he even gets half a block a game. I mean, for a point guard, those things do kind of add up.
They do.
So it definitely does help. I think 94 is definitely underrated. I'd probably be ranking him more in that 60, pretty much like similar to what he put up last season. Surely he's got to do better than last season, right?
100%.
He'd have to with Gordon Hayward gone. He's going to step into that starting role. So, which I think is a great fit on that team as well. He's such a hustle player. I can see him averaging 2 steals a game, which is elite in that category. So he's definitely a steal around, I'd say 50 to 60 kind of ranges where I'd be drafting him.
Those like small categories like steals and blocks, we can't emphasize enough how valuable 2 steals a game is. It's the same as like a player averaging 30 points a game, basically in that statistical category, because it's the small differences can make a huge difference to the player's value. So getting 2 steals a game is truly elite, and not many players can do it. So definitely someone who I will be looking to target towards the end of the middle rounds, if I can get him at a good price. All right, let's move on to your third sleeper, Cal.
All right, my third sleeper is Lauri Markkanen.
Oy.
And I just think that 77, the ceiling that this man has is it's a lot higher than that. That's all I say. He could be like third round kind of value, and he's ranked 77 here. He had a terrible year. It was injury plagued, yes, but he's still young. He can bounce back. He's athletic. He can hit that three. He doesn't really hurt you a whole lot. His field goal, could improve, but that's because he hits a lot of threes, and it's not too bad anyway. I think he'll be elite in threes. He'll get you points. He'll get you rebounds. He'll get you the old 1 steal, 1 block kind of thing. He'll be really good on turnovers, I think, as well, because he's not really going to pass the ball much. So he's one of those players who there's a lot of benefit there. And as I said, the ceiling is through the roof for this man. He could be third round value in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, look, I'm going to say one thing for Lauri Markkanen, and that is he's got a different coach. And their coach last year was not a good coach. And I don't think, especially when it comes to fantasy, I don't think he helped Lauri Markkanen's play. He was very harsh on him, subbed him really quickly whenever he would do something poor, and got off to a lot of slow starts, particularly in the start of the season. So he was a frustrating. I had him on my team last year. I think I drafted him in the 4th round last year, expecting some good returns, sort of like a Dirk Nowitzki-esque kind of build. Lots of threes, some decent rebounds and scoring from a big guy with good percentages. So didn't happen. But I agree with you. I think he can have a bounce back kind of year. Where would you be comfortable drafting him? What did you say his rank was?
He's 77 is where he's currently ranked.
Yep.
I'd probably anything around the 60, I'd be happy taking him.
Yep.
If you want to reach for him at a 50 mark, that's a bit of a stretch. But if you in the 60s, which is a round ahead, like you're getting him kind of in that 5th to 6th round, I think you're doing pretty well. So a 5th or 6th rounder.
Yeah, and that's the thing with these sleepers. Like, I might throw it over to you, Cal, and you might say, "Oh yeah, I think he'll be a top 50 player," but you don't want to draft him at, like, say, pick 50, because then you're just capping your upside. Because then if he is the 50th player, you've got no value. So you don't want to be drafting these guys where you think they're going to be. You want to get them at a discount. And if someone else gets them before you, high, like, at the spot that you think they are, then so what? You haven't lost out on any value. But so just be careful when we do talk about these sleepers. Don't to reach too far, because then you're just eliminating value for yourself, and you probably could have maybe got them in a round or two, and that's when you start to win your league. So
yeah, I'll say the only exception to that would be if the person was such a perfect fit for your build. So I can totally see someone is snatching DeMar DeRozan in, say, like the 4th round, if he's just kind of like, dude, I'm punting threes and I'm punting like steals. He's perfect for my team. I'm taking him. So that's the only reason you would really go ahead of that.
Yeah, and especially like you were saying before, if you're drafting close to the turn, that reaching factor becomes even more important. So, all right, we'll move on to, I think I'm up to my third sleeper. So my third sleeper is Christian Wood of the Houston Rockets. Now, this one, his rank on Yahoo is 62. Look, his ceiling, we know at the end of last year when he was playing on the Detroit Pistons, when they had no one left basically, and he was just putting up buckets. He was a top 20 ranked player when he was just going absolutely crazy. I don't think he's getting there. I'm not expecting him to go that high. But on a Rockets team where they're literally only other big guys, DeMarcus Cousins, their only power forward is PJ Tucker. They've got literally 3 guys in that power forward and center position. I think he's clearly the starting center there. And I think when you're working alongside players like Russell Westbrook, James Harden, there's lots of easy buckets to be made. You're going to be groveling up maybe not all the rebounds. Westbrook might come in and try and steal a few off you, but he's going to have great percentages. He's going to shoot some threes. He'll get close to a steal and a block a game, so it won't negatively hurt you there. But I think at pick 62, I think you've got a lot of upside. And let's say Russell Westbrook gets traded, or Harden, or even both gets traded, then Christian Wood's just going to go absolutely bananas. So I don't see him going any lower than that, and I see a huge upside. So I'd be happy drafting him inside the top 50.
Yeah, okay. I kind of thought I saw him at 60, and I'll say some negatives for him is he has to share the ball with Westbrook and James Harden. And yes, he'd put up top 20 value on a terrible Pistons team who was kind of led by like who led them in, like, did D-Rose lead them for a while? I don't know.
Yeah, I think Derrick Rose did, yeah.
Yeah, it was not an offensive team, so they ran it through him a lot, and that's not going to be as much of the case in Houston, but he'll still have that rim running. It's still going to be a fast offense. So I can still
see him putting
50. 50 is reasonable.
Yeah. I think he's got, like I said, it's a high upside pick with not too much downside. Like, I don't expect DeMarcus Cousins coming out here and playing 30 minutes a night after he's done his ACL, done his Achilles, tore his quad. He's like a big dude. He's not very mobile. I don't see it happening at all. And look, I could be wrong, but I really don't expect to be in that scenario. So I think 62 is his absolute floor, and it's only upside from there. So that's why I'm considering him a sleeper this year. All right, we'll throw it back over to you. You've got 2 more each. Who is your 4th sleeper?
So my next sleeper, I'll go with Al Horford, who's ranked at 100.
Okay, I like it.
He's playing for OKC, and he'll be their starting center. He's still a good player. He was just on a team that did not kind of fit his strengths at all. And we know exactly what Sam Presti wants to do. He's going to do the exact same thing he did with Chris Paul. He'll bring him in, try and buff his stats, make him look good, and then try and trade him. So I guess, look, to some degree, yes, the downside could be he could be traded at the trade deadline. I wouldn't be hugely surprised if that does happen, but he's still going to put up better stats than he was putting up last season. And even last season, he was putting up 12, 7, 4 assists, that kind of 1 steal, 1 block. So he doesn't really hurt you at all. He's just like an all-rounder, fills the categories. And I honestly, seeing a lot of those things go up, like I can easily see him average like maybe 14, 8, and 5. which is
Yeah.
pretty damn good for someone who's ranked at 100. So
Look,
I'd be happy to reach, I'd say, even in the 70s for Al Horford.
yeah, look, we all agree he had a bad year last year. He was playing out of position next to Joel Embiid. Do you want to have a guess at his rank last year?
Well, he didn't play a whole lot, did he? His
Have a
rank
guess at
last year,
his
it would have
rank.
been like 130 or something, probably.
Higher. He was ranked 68 last year.
Oh, what?
68, yeah. Because like you said, he just hurts you nowhere. Like his worst stat is his points. He only scores 12 points a game, but he's a positive in literally nearly every other stat except for field goal percentage. And
It's such a solid pick.
Yeah,
it doesn't hurt you.
Even when he was playing on Philadelphia with Joel Embiid, he was ranked 68. Now I've got turnovers still switched on, so if I switch that off, he would drop some spots. But at pick 100, are we expecting him to be worse than he was last year? Like that just makes no sense to me. So I totally agree with your pick there. And like I said, I'm happy to select him like closer to pick 70 than pick 100. And he could even be the 50th best ranked player in a team that literally has no one outside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that can score the basket or create any sort of offense. So.
And Shai likes to work a bit off ball as well. And I think that's what a player that Al's strength, the average 4 assists. There's no reason he can't do that or better this season.
Yeah, he could go up to as high as like five and a half assists. He's done it before. He's in Boston. He's averaged 5 assists plus. So yeah, I can definitely see those going back up. The rebounds should start to rise again, being the only big guy on that team. So I like your pick there. All right, I'm heading back over. My next guy is Jerami Grant. He's the next sleeper for me. Ranked 117th on Yahoo. He signed a big contract this offseason, Cal.
Gonna make his money.
He's making his money. And you know what? Apparently, and I cannot confirm this, but I've heard rumors that Denver offered him the same amount of money to stay in their team at the Nuggets. But he wanted to go to Detroit because they had promised him a feature number 1 role. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was offered $60 million to join the Detroit Pistons or the Denver Nuggets, I'm picking the Nuggets 10 times out of 10. So they must have really sold him on the fact that he's going to be the number 1 dude. He's going to get the ball a lot. So there is no way I see him falling below 117. And I would comfortably be able to draft him closer to pick 80, really. He'll get you close to a steal and a block a game, should get you a 3.5 or so, solid rebounds, solid points. And decent percentages as well. So won't get you a lot of assists, and maybe his free throw percentage is not too flash, but otherwise should be a pretty solid all-round contributor with a decent upside.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair enough. 117 is way too low for him, especially he's going to be the starting. I don't know if he's small forward or power forward, but he's going to start.
Doesn't matter.
He'll get minutes. He can play defense as well. I can see him getting that, 1.5 steals, 1 block a game. That stuff does add up. He'll get your 1.5 threes.
Yeah.
He'll get the rebound. He's not really going to hurt you a whole lot. Maybe in the percentage, like field goal and the 3 throw, but otherwise his counting stats will be really good. And I'd be comfortable drafting around the 80 area.
Yeah. So we're both seeing pretty out of there. So cool. I'll throw it back up to you for your last sleeper of the day.
All right, last sleeper. We did mention him last time because I think he was a huge winner from the trades. Yep. Josh Richardson.
Okay.
122nd is where Yahoo has him ranked, which is pretty outrageous. What he averaged? He averaged 14, 3, and 3 with like your 1-1. Pretty bad. That probably would rank you at about the 120. But now he's playing with Luka Doncic and historically the best offense of all time last season.
Yeah. I think it's a perfect fit in that team.
Yeah. Like he went from like a terrible fit. Well, it's a terribly kind of combination of players to begin with that just didn't work. And now he's being moved to the best offense. He's going to get a reasonable, it might even be the number 3 option. It'll be him and Tim Hardaway at that option. He'll be the lead defender. So he'll get a lot more steals a game than 0.9. I can see him averaging 1.5. And he can also get a bit of on-ball action when Luka's off the court as well. I can see him easily averaging kind of like your 16, 5, 4 with like 1.5 steals, close to a block a game as well.
Yep.
And he's only really going to hurt you on your field goal, but that's what you get with players who shoot a fair few amount of threes. And he doesn't shoot a whole lot anyway, so it's not going to hurt you that much. And with that regard, so there's a lot of bonuses there. 122 is way too low. He's a starting small forward. He's a very good starting small forward, and he should be going really in that 80 kind of areas, or 80, 90. So Jay Rich.
I love it. Look, if we go back to just 2 seasons ago, so in his last 2 seasons in Miami before he went to Philadelphia, he was in the 17-18 season, he was ranked 53. And in the 18-19 season, he was ranked 67. And then he's ballooned out to 145 last year. Because like you said, that fit was just awful. You know, his minutes per game dropped. His shooting percentage went down. His usage went down. He's been a player that's averaged nearly 0.9 blocks and a steal and a half a game. He's the kind of rare guard that can get you a lot of block shots, as well as hitting threes and getting steals, which is a rare combination to get and something really valuable in fantasy. So 100% agree. If his ceiling is, you know, if everything goes right, top 50, like you said, probably I'd rather be drafting him sort of close to that 90 sort of range. So there's 30 sort of spots of value there for Josh Richardson. And if you can get about 120, like you're not risking anything, you know. If he sucks, he sucks. It's all good. But, you know, I think there's heaps of upside there for him at that rank.
Agreed.
Yeah, cool. I've got one more sleeper for you, and it's well, I won't say it's a homer pick. It used to be a homer pick, and we've talked about him in the past, but it's Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward at pick 87. I don't know how he's going to do worse than last year. Last year he was the 49th ranked player. How was he dropping 40 spots to 87 when he's now the number 1 option? Look, I know there's a risk in terms of his injury, but even in saying that, his most recent injuries haven't been the same reoccurring injury. They've been sort of freak random sort of things. He gets a bit unlucky. So I can really see the fortunes turning around for Gordon Hayward moving on. Look, I would be comfortable drafting him where he was ranked last year, just to take into a bit of that risk with the expectation that he's going to do better. Being ranked 49th last year, I expect him to be close to that, you know, top 40 sort of zone. So, you know, thereabouts. I can see him averaging 20 points a game, increasing his assists, increasing his threes. There's no real centers on that team, so he's going to get some more rebounds, I believe. So I can see him having a really, really good year this year, provided he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I totally agree. He was on my list as well. We touched on him last time. He's one of the biggest winners fantasy-wise from the offseason.
Yeah,
so
100%.
I'm buying stock. I'd love having him on my team.
It's hard to get a 20 points per game scorer outside of the top 50. Like it's just really hard to do. And if you do, you're usually sacrificing something. You know, if you're grabbing a Colin Sexton or an Andrew Wiggins, like they don't really do anything else except for score. Whereas Gordon Hayward, I think, has a chance to be a 20 points per game scorer and also have good percentages, threes, assists, low turnovers. So something that I think is very valuable to get later in the draft. So that will do it for our sleepers today. So lots of us to talk there.